The Todd Shapiro Show. Canada Laughs, SiriusXM 168.
Now we're going to talk some Vanbex, man.
It's time for our weekly check-in with our friends at Vanbex. Our very smart, intelligent, imaginative, innovative, wise, brilliant, knowledgeable, resourceful, creative, bright, perceptive, smart, rational, and well-informed friends.
Graham Templeton joins us as Kevin Hobbs and Lisa are out in London for a big blockchain conference. We got Tom Henry here, Elias Theodoro. We're going to talk blockchain. How you doing, Graham?
I'm great after that introduction. That was amazing.
Yeah, I'm good at what I do, though. Like, I'm very good at what I do. It's sort of, it's the reason why I'm here, you know. And it could end tomorrow because my job's very fickle. How are you doing? What's going down?
I'm just looking into blockchain stuff as I normally do. And the number one thing that we're sort of looking at here at Vanbex as far as that goes is we're watching the crypto markets and thinking about sort of how that plays into our business. And what we're finding is not really at all. And sort of Kevin and I actually collaborated on a piece about this recently. And the point was just sort of that blockchain applications outside of just sort of like outright investment are basically untouched by this because they were never really locked to the value of, say, Bitcoin or Ethereum or anything else. So one of the things that we're seeing in the blockchain space right now is a real sort of return to, I think, confidence, especially from government actors who are always sort of threatened by the strength of crypto. They look at this sort of recent downturn, which is starting to turn around, to be fair, but they look at that recent large downturn, and I think that sort of puts their heart rate down a little bit, and it lets them sort of think about investment and think about allowing certain projects to go forward that might have been a little too threatening before. So in a weird way, it's, I think, turning out to be somewhat positive, but certainly what we're seeing from our clients is that, you know, they are sort of full steam ahead.
Yeah, I guess, you know, and you know, it's even when we talked to Michael Gokturk, the CEO of Einstein.exchange, he's the first to say it's you know, it's struggling. It's not to say there's not opportunities in cryptocurrencies and everything, but you're right. You're kind of in like the emerging side of things as well, which is, you know, the differences of blockchain technology, and that's one thing we educate our audiences on about. You know, what's something that you can elaborate on a project that might you know, that the average person can understand.
So one thing that I noticed on that introduction actually is that you mentioned Einstein Exchange, which is actually a client of ours, and one of they're a functioning, you know, exchange, as you know, but one thing that they are thinking about adding and that we're working with them to maybe develop is the idea of loyalty points trading and the idea of being able to trade, for instance, air miles or other sorts of points in exchange for other points or in exchange for crypto.
Very cool. And what are sort of some blockchain projects that you might be working on?
Well, I mean, so at Vanbex, we are a consultancy, so we work with other companies. We work hand in glove with another company called Ether Party, which is right in the middle of like they're just like a few weeks into their launch of their big marquee project right now, which is called Rocket, which allows people to build sort of smart contract platforms and blockchain services very easily and quickly. So they're getting into that. On my side, where I work at the consultancy, we're also working with a company called Dreamblock, which is doing really interesting things as far as sort of breaking up, or in their words, fractionalizing real estate. So at that point, you don't need millions of dollars to invest in real estate and get juiced into literally the single biggest market in the world, period. You can do it with just, you know, a few $1,000s because you're only buying a small proportion, the proportion that you can afford. So that's a very interesting thing too. But, you know, as I said, it all kind of comes down to the fact that like the blockchain as a piece of technology is sort of evolving in ways that allow different sorts of services to be delivered. So, for instance, right now we're seeing sort of a move away in many cases from the traditional mining in the way that we've come to think of it. And the big sort of advantage of that is it gets rid of the enormous electricity and thus monetary cost to running these services. And so that right away opens up a ton of applications that just weren't financially feasible before. These sorts of sort of basic fundamental level evolutions to the technology are really opening up a lot of opportunities, especially in the companies that we're working with, which usually are some of the more forward thinking out there.
Graham Templeton joins us from Vanbex. We're hanging out with Tom Henry, Elias Theodore. We only got a couple minutes left here. Real quick, Graham, like if someone's listening goes, maybe I need consultancy from a company like Vanbex. Maybe I need to figure out if my company fits in the blockchain space. Is there an example you can give that would relate to, like, when I say the average business, like a heating and cooling company, or, just like will every industry eventually need something like this?
Well, so I mean, what you're kind of referring to is the idea of like tokenization, right? The idea of tokenization of everything. And the real sort of blockchain diehards definitely do think that virtually everything will get sort of tokenized. One thing I found very interesting, just as an example, kind of what you were talking about the ability to use the blockchain in a sort of wide enough way that you can imagine it getting in almost anywhere, is there was a company called, I believe it was Fornu, which was actually building physical power plants in different places around the world. And what they would do is they would allow you to sort of buy tokens that literally would represent electricity. And you could actually trade literal power at that point. So, I mean, that sort of shows the way in which tokenization of a wide variety of things can actually sort of it can bleed into all sorts of industries that you wouldn't otherwise expect.
Yeah, I find that very fascinating, because that way, everyone can sort of read up on it and see how it can or can't help them. We really appreciate you jumping on, man. I know that Kevin and Lisa, I believe, are in the Blockchain Live event in London. It's happening currently as we speak. Kevin's given a big keynote there. Kevin's become very familiar with a lot of our listeners. Make sure you check out all the Vanbex social medias, Vanbex K and Vanbex Group, I believe, and find out everything that they're doing. And if you ever have any questions, tweet at us at Todd Shapiro Show or at Vanbex Group. We can help answer those questions with you, whether it's through Graham or Lisa or Kevin. We appreciate your time, my friend.
Oh, thanks for having me on.
Cheers. And then we got the big Vanbex giveaway to talk about, which we're going to be doing through Kevin and his new Leaf tickets. So that's going to be happening next week. We're going to talk about that. Thank you very much to Graham Templeton.
The Todd Shapiro Show.
You are the greatest hero in American history.
SiriusXM Canada Laughs Channel 168.